Welcome, everyone. Welcome. I'm thrilled to have you all here for this opportunity for us to hear from two extraordinary peace builders, Israeli and Palestinian. I'm going to give a brief introduction, and then Melissa, who just came back from an extraordinary trip with her daughter Emma, an encounter trip, will be in conversation with Rabbi Hanan and Khaled, and maybe, hopefully, in the course of your conversation, we'll also hear and learn a little bit about your trip. I'll also share that we did a podcast with Melissa and Emma so that we could learn more as a community about some of what they experienced, and that is also available for all of you to hear. So by way of brief introduction, Khaled Abu Awwad is among the foremost figures in the Palestinian community working toward peace and reconciliation between Palestinians and Israelis. He has been part of numerous groundbreaking organizations, has been awarded all kinds of international prizes for projects that he's been involved in building and supporting. Khaled's family has been deeply affected by the conflict over the course of your lifetime, as I'm sure we'll hear more about. And this has shaped your beliefs and actions. Khaled's mother and brother Ali were both jailed during the first Intifada for extended periods of time. Khaled himself spent 18 months in an Israeli prison. In the year 2000, Khaled's brother Yusuf was killed by Israeli soldiers. And 2 years later, another brother, Saeed, died 10 days after being wounded. And his son, Muyad, did I say it properly? Muyad was seriously wounded and left handicapped. In 2009, your son, Muhannad, was arrested and jailed for several years, and then arrested again at the end of 2015 and finally released in 2017. With everything that Khaled has faced, as you will hear, he remains dedicated to nonviolence and to communication between Israelis and Palestinians. We are so deeply moved to have you here as a guest in our community here. We've had Ali here many times over the years, and he's become a friend of mine, and I feel really grateful to be in your presence and to have you here and expand this circle of friendship to you as well. Rabbi Hanan Schlesinger, whom many of you heard or met earlier today when he had an aliyah, is an Orthodox rabbi and teacher who's been profoundly transformed by his encounters with Palestinians and the Palestinian people. I believe this began just over 10 years ago. As he never tires of saying, he is now healing from the hubris of exclusivity in which he was afflicted all of his adult life, knowing today that there are indeed two peoples in the Holy Land, that each has their own story. Indeed, the land itself bears two identities, the land of Israel and also the land of Palestine. Originally hailing from New York, Rabbi Hanan Schlesinger immigrated to Israel on his own at the age of 20, has lived in Alon Shvut, Gush Etzion, for 40 years, grew up in a secular Jewish family, and at the end of high school, frummed out, as we say, began delving into observant Judaism, and has spent many years of exploration in a very in a pretty extraordinary professional career, some of which we're going to hear about this as well. Met Ali Abu Awwad in early 2014, and an Israeli partner, Shaul Yudelman, is it Judelman or Yudelman, who joined together with Rav Hanan and other Israelis and Palestinians to form Roots, Judur, Shorashim, the organization that you now are representing and that we're going to hear from today. I am beyond thrilled that our community has also been able to host you many times. I learned from Rav Schlesinger that I typically am out of town when he's here. I think I was here the very first time. I was supposed to be out of town this Shabbos, and I'm so glad that I'm here so that I can bear witness to this conversation along with you and our beloved CEO, Melissa Balaban, and we really look forward to this conversation. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Brous, and thank you, both of you, for being here. It's really an honor. As Rabbi Brous said, I was just on an encounter trip, and I've had the opportunity to meet with Ali, your brother, a number of times, and it is so clear to me that the work that you two are doing is going to actually change the conversation and change the situation there. And I'm, inshallah, and I know our community feels deeply blessed to be able to hear from you and the work you're doing, and to be able to platform your organization, because I know we believe that platforming folks who understand the need for understanding both narratives and understanding that there's two peoples in one place and no one's going anywhere, and how are we going to learn to live together. So thank you so much for being here. So I want to start, I know Rabbi Brous started with telling a little bit of your stories, but I really want to hear your stories and what drew you to this work and why you're continuing to do it. I was told by Rabbi Schlesinger that we want to hear mostly from you today, so I want to make sure we hear your story, but we want to hear yours too, because it's a very important piece of the puzzle.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm a little bit jealous. I hope that we'll have such as activities in our mosques, that our people, the Muslim people, will invite people from, it's okay? People from different culture to speak, to do a kind of exchange between each other. So thank you, to this center, synagogue, to this community that invite such as initiative, Roots. My name is Khaled Abu Awwad. I'm a Palestinian. I am an Arab, I am a Muslim, I am a religious Muslim person, which means I'm praying 5 times a day, and I'm fasting. After 7 days, Ramadan will start. We'll be fast for a month, but it's going to be easy. I will fast here in America, and then I will go back. I am one of the founders of Roots, together with Rav Hanan Schlesinger, with many friends, with Shaul Yundelman, with Myron Joshua, with Fruman family, Hadassah Fruman, and all this unique Jewish family in our area. In 2014, we start this initiative in Gush Etzion, in our land, in my family's land. My name is Khaled. My family's name is Abu Awwad. So 2014, we opened our land for a joint meeting between Palestinian and Israel together to meet each other. Why? What this kind of meeting do to the people? What's the importance of this meeting? This is what I discover or study through my personal story, my life, my family's life. How many time we have? 1 hour?
I think he's been here 3 times, yes? Ali Abu Awwad?
Khaled, huh?
Oh, sorry, 1 hour, sorry.
1 hour,
sorry.
Okay. So the story of my family starts with the conflict since 1948. We also consider a refugee Palestinian family. You know what refugee Palestinian family. So 1948, we left our village, Kubebet ibn Awwad, which is Lachish nowadays, and we moved to a place to Gush Etzion. I born in Gush Etzion. We used to live there until 1967. 1967, that 6-day war caused to us to be refugee for the next time. So we left the country to Jordan. We spent 2 weeks in Jordan. And then when the war came down, our parents bring us back to the Holy Land. And we grown in a village called Beit Umar, a refugee family in between local people. They all have lands, they all have houses. We have nothing. We are living in a rent house. Like this we grown. So me, my brothers, my sisters, we grown with a lot of hatred to Israel. Like they took everything from us. They left us without anything, without land, without house. They took my father, my grandfather's house. Like this, we grown. 1987, we have been the first intifada, the first Palestinian intifada, we have been active, led by our mother. She passed away, Allah yarhamha, but she had been our leader. Her name is Fatima, her nickname is Yusuf, a very known name in the Palestinian area. The intifada ended in 1993 by the signature of two leaders on the peace agreement, Oslo agreement. We, Awwad's family, as part of the Palestinian leadership, as part of the Palestinian people, we support the agreement. For us, we are two people who have been fighting each other until we achieve a peace agreement. So, what we understand that we should close the page of fighting. What's happened there happened. If we need to open it, we will open it in the future, but not now. And now we should open a new page that allow both of us to live together or side by side in peace. This is what we understand. So we support the peace. We trust our two leaders, the Palestinian leadership, the Israeli leadership, that they will continue the negotiation until they bring us the peace. And this is our mistake. I've been waiting for them to bring us peace until 16 of November 2000, 6:30 p.m. in the village of Beit Umar. The Israel military shot one of the people. His name is Yusuf Abu Awwad, 31 years old. He is a father of a 3-year-old daughter, 1-year-old son. He's my brother. An Israeli soldier killed him. When we hear that, the first reaction have been, why? What did he do? Who killed him? And where's the peace? This is not what we are waiting for. We are waiting to live in peace with each other. In the Jewish culture, when somebody dies, you sit for 7 days. In our culture, in the Palestinian, in the Arab culture in general, we sit for 3 days. We sit for 3 days for Yusuf. Thousands of Palestinian people came to bring their condolence to my family, to me. We finished these 3 days. And after 2 months, we got a strange message through one of our friends. He asked us if we can welcome a group of Israel Jewish families that they want to come to visit us, to stand with us, to support us. And our first reaction have been, no way. They. And the answer they, it means that everyone in the other side, in the Israel side, they kill my brother. And they want to come and to say, we are sorry. We don't want to see, we don't want to hear, we don't want to talk with anyone from the other side. Again and again, they send us, friend of us, explain to us that those people, these families, came to you in peace. They respect you. They reject what's happened to you about Awwad's family. We said, okay. 9 or 10 Jewish Israel families from the center of the country, they come to my village, to my house. They sit in my house, and we start a conversation. I tell them about my brother and how their soldier killed my brother without any reason. And it have been strange to see that when I speak, I've seen the tears of some of them. And for me, this is very strange because we are enemy. This is my first time sitting with the Jewish identity, the Jewish Israel identity. I know Many Israel people before, in my work, we used to work, to speak about business, about work. But this is the first time that we are talking about the national issues of our both people. To see them crying, feeling my pain, this is strange. And at the same time, this calls to us to respect those people and to listen to everything that they are going to say. We finish and they start. On the head of this group, there is a Jewish religious father who his son had been kidnapped and killed by Hamas. And he is sitting in my house. How it come? I'm a Palestinian, this is a Palestinian house. How this father do this step? It's not enough to be a human to do this step. You need to be like a mountain to hold all this pain as a father and to do this step in the direction of your enemy, which make us more and more respect those people. He finished. And we hear another story, which is in my eyes an important story in this conflict. Story of a 14, 15 years old Jewish Israel girl from Talmud. That one day she went with her two girlfriends to Tel Aviv, to Dizengoff Center. 3 girlfriends. They didn't went there with weapon or to fight anyone. They went there, I think in Purim, to celebrate, to do shopping, market, anything, but not to fight anyone. And in Dizengoff Center, Palestinian with a suicide bomber, he killed 3 of them. The father and the mother of one of those girls have been part of the people that come to my house and visit me and sitting with me. The mother share us with part of the diary of her little daughter when she have been alive. She wrote in her diary a lot of good things about everyone in this world. The story of this girl, for me as a Palestinian, it challenged me. Like before this story, for me, I have been standing all the time as a Palestinian. We are innocent, they are guilty. We are the victim, they are the perpetrator. But the story of this girl changed all the positions, like how it come. Am I the perpetrator and they are the victim? Are we wrong and they are right? It cannot be like this. I've been in a kind of confused. I want to understand what's going on here. I took the story of this innocent girl between me and myself. I want to understand this girl with such as good heart. Who killed her? He's a Palestinian. Why did he do that? He did that in the name of the Palestinian right, of the Palestinian freedom, of the Palestinian justice. I'm a Palestinian. Did he do that in my name? What's my opinion? Do I accept that someone do like this in my name, in my right's name? Are we allowed as a human being, based on the fact that we are right to go out and hurt and kill the people like this? Based on that, we are right. No way. This is wrong. This is an unhuman behavior. I cannot accept that anyone do this in my name. We finish the meeting with those people, and they left us. And then we make an internal meeting inside my family to understand what's going on here, what this meeting do to us. And the conclusion have been like this. On this piece of land that the Israel people call it Israel, we call it Palestine. My God, in my Holy Quran, call it the Holy Land. I love this name. I prefer this name. On the Holy Land, there are 2 people. one people, they call themselves the Palestinian people. I am a Palestinian. Like me, there are 5 or 6 million people. We born there, we grown there, we are living there. This is our homeland. We are not going anywhere. We belong to this land. At the same time, there are another people. They call themselves the Israel people, the Jewish people, the Zionist people. I don't care. There are 6 or 7 million people. This is their name. This is their name. And they live there. And they belong to this land. Based on all the stories that mention in my Holy Quran, that me and every Muslim in this world believe on this Quran. This Quran tell every Muslim most of the stories of the sons of Israel start from Abraham, Ishmael, Yitzchak, the story of Yosef, the immigration of Jacob and his sons to Egypt following Yosef, 350 years in Egypt or 400 years in Egypt. They enter to Egypt as respectful people. They end as slaves by the Pharaoh. They treat them in a bad way. God sent Moses to save his people, to bring his people, the sons of Israel, out of Egypt. He opened the sea for them, 40 years in the desert, to treat them, to be free people again, because they still have a mission. God asked Moses to bring back his nation to the Holy Land. The story of David, King David, King Solomon, Beit Midrash, Sharon Kodesh. It's all mentioned in my Quran. And it's all a witness of the belong of the sons of Israel to the Holy Land. And between the Palestinian and the Israel, there is a conflict. There is a problem. None of them accept the other one. And every one of us tell the story of this conflict from his side, from his point. And every one of us stand in a place. I am right, the other one is wrong. I am the victim, the other one is the perpetrator. Until we met. We met a meeting based on respect and listening to each other. Not a meeting of hatred, not a meeting of competition. Who's suffering more, who's guilty and who's not. It's a meeting of human beings who are feeling and listening to each other. The moment that we do that, the moment that every one of us hear another story about the same conflict, and where's the truth? It's in both. It's in both. Our story, our truth, with their truth together is the real truth of what's going on in the Holy Land. The moment that we do that, the moment that we have the ability to have these two truths in one heart, the moment that we go out of the place that we are all the time blaming the other one, to a place that every one of us start taking responsibility in his side. Before I am blaming the other one, I should ask myself where I am right and where I am wrong. What I should do in order to end this conflict. Taking responsibility, every one of us. None of us is innocent. We are guilty with what's going on there. Since that, and after this conclusion, we, Awwad's family, put all our power, all our position in our society in order to allow as much as we can people from both sides to meet and to hear the story and the truth of the other one. Thank you. Shukran.
Thank you so much, Khaled. I'm so moved by by the lens through which you're seeing it, understanding each other's stories being such a important grounding and understanding, and at the same time, the lens through your religion, which is really informing how you're working through these issues. And Rabbi Schlesinger, I'd love to also hear from you about how your religion informs this work, because to many people it wouldn't be obvious, given that you are living in the settlements, that you are religious. So I want to hear your story, but I also really want to hear it through the lens of your religious expression and how this work is an expression of that.
11 and a half years ago, I'm driving my car with two guests from the U.S., evangelical Protestant pastors. We wanted to show them around, show them how the visions of the biblical prophets are coming true. The Israelites are returning to their homeland. As we're driving, I saw a hitchhiker on the side of the road. I picked him up. After a few minutes, I saw another young man also hitchhiking, and I picked him up as well. The two young men asked me out of the car pretty soon, short drive. And when I let them off and started to drive again, one of the pastors from Dallas, Texas, he said to me, Hanan, that was great. You taught us a lesson in Jewish ethics. You picked up hitchhikers. No one does that in Texas. So I said to him, Bob, his name was Bob Roberts, Bob, you know, it's not just me. Around here, we all pick up hitchhikers. We have a common vision. We trust each other. And just like everyone else, I do my very best to pick up every person who puts out his finger for a ride. And by the time I finished that sentence, it dawned on me that I was lying. I was lying to Bob and Kevin, and even worse, I was lying to myself. I really believed what I said, that I pick up every person. But you guys know better than I did then. I should have said I pick up every Jew. I'd never picked up Palestine in my life. And I did not know that I never picked up a Palestine in my life. Which means that, so it dawned on me then, that the Palestinians didn't exist for me. They were transparent. I was blind. At that moment in the car, I said to the two pastors, there's something wrong with me. And I have to fix it. I have to find a way to turn the Palestinians into human beings in my eyes, and the way to do it, I said to them and to me, was to meet them. And that's the day that I began my journey. Within a few weeks, I met Ali, Khaled's brother. Perhaps I met Khaled, I don't remember. I met many other Palestinians, and I began to learn that as true and as glorious is my Jewish, Zionist, settle the land identity, it's not the only truth in that land. And I've been living for 40 years as if my truth is the only truth in that land, the only story in that land. And after listening to my newfound Palestinian friends who became partners in creating Roots, I began to see, very painfully, that there's human beings in the land that I never saw. I began to realize that until that moment, the Palestinians had been, in my mind, the gray drab scenery that passes in the background of my movie, the Jewish movie, and they're not part of the plot. You can ignore them, but you can't. I began to see human beings, but not only human beings. I began to see Palestinian identity, Palestinian history, Palestinian belonging to the land. And that brought me to Rav Kook. Because Rav Kook was a great propagator of the understanding that there are multiple truths in this world. And in my language, Rav Kook said that falsehood is mistaking part of the truth for the whole truth. There's truth everywhere. I deeply believe that. The truth of the Jewish people, the connection to the land, is no less true for me today than it was 11 years ago. But it's not the only truth that I live with today, that I try to live with. I believe, and I say this with great consternation and pain, I think that I lived most of my life in falsehood. Because I mistook part of the truth for the whole truth, and that's not a place that I want to be any longer. Rabbi Brous mentioned my expression, the hubris of exclusivity. We Jews in the state of Israel, in the land of Israel, and especially we settlers, we live in the hubris of exclusivity. We're certain that our truth is the only truth. And in the work of Roots, we are listening until it hurts and then listening some more.
Thank you so much for sharing that. It's incredibly moving, and I was sitting here thinking I'm both sort of awed by the idea that you have come to that understanding given who you were and what your background is, and also there's a part of me that feels like, wow, this is so obvious. Why doesn't everybody understand that people have two stories and that your willingness to tell it is so important? And I'd like to, I know Khaled just walked away, but maybe you can start. I think he was getting some water, maybe. But I'd love to hear. I think he's just getting some water. Yeah. Thank you. I'm really curious. I think many of us are curious who your constituency is and your colleagues, your friends, the folks you pray with, the folks you eat with in the West Bank. How does your message resonate with them, and how do you speak with them?
So let's give some background. I think that Roots is unique among peace movements in that we are focused in the heart of the conflict. The heart of the conflict, I mean that geographically and I mean that demographically. We're focused in the settlements, only in the settlements, in the West Bank, Judea and Samaria, and we're focused on the settlers. Let's face it, the settlers are the problem. One of the main problems, and therefore let's ignore them. That doesn't work. The settlements and the settlers, and religion means Islam and Judaism, but for me it means Judaism. Judaism is absolutely part of the conflict. You can't ignore it. You have to deal with it. You have to deal with the people who have turned Judaism into the problem. So our constituency is in Gush Etzion, between Bethlehem and Hebron, and we expanded to the Jordan Valley, also, which is in the West Bank, and we expanded also to Samaria, Shomron, between Nablus, Shem, and Ramallah. And the Jewish side focused around the city of Ariel. That's our constituency, which means that there's things I can say to you that I don't say to our constituency. There's things I can say to you that I don't put on our website. It's always a narrow path of what can you say and what can you not say, and in order not to turn into the prophet that no one in his generation listens to. I'll tell you, I just thought of this. I was once on a panel discussion at Brown University, and Susanna Heschel was the moderator. And after I spoke with the other panelists, she said, Hanan, that was beautiful, but where is your prophetic voice? And my answer should have been, but of course we know why she wants me to be a prophet. You know what happened to the prophets. Today we listen to them, partially, but in that they know. So we are trying to use the language and stay within the mainstream of our constituency. And I would say that doing that and walking that tightrope is going to be the key if we can succeed in doing that. And now let me tell you something personally. I'm one of the founders of Roots. Almost at the outset, I made myself into the Director of International Relations, and I did that partially because I understood that I don't have the ability to do what I just said has to be done. I don't. I am more of a prophet than a sage. But thank God we have on the ground, in the leadership of Brous, Israelis who have a greater ability than me to speak the language of our constituency. I speak your language. But our leadership on the ground speaks the language of the settlers, speaks the language of Jewish tradition, speaks the language of the right wing today. But we, I should say them, Shaul and Myron and Elias, are able to use the language of our constituency to, through the back door, bring in the values that need to be espoused in order to bring reconciliation to that land. Let me just say one more thing. Just use the word reconciliation. In Roots, we do not meet the other side only as human beings. It's not enough for Palestinians to meet Jews as human beings and for Jewish Israelis to meet Palestinians as human beings. Because identity is what is fueling this conflict. Roots is the people most wedded to their historical, religious, national, particular identities, meeting the people on the side most wedded to their historical, national, political identities. We speak the language of identity, and we are the people of identity speaking that language, which makes it that much more difficult, but I think that much more meaningful. So number one, it's about humanization, but number two, it's about identity reconciliation. To hear the other person's identity, which means what he thinks about himself and what she thinks about you. And I have to accept, I have to listen until it hurts and listen to what she thinks about herself and accept that that is true for her. And then I have to listen to what she thinks about me and accept that there's some truth in that also, even though it contradicts what I think about myself. And that's really hard.
Thank you for sharing that. I can only imagine how difficult it is and how walking that tightrope between your heart, your friends, your family, your constituency, and what you've evolved to really understand about the conflict. And Khaled, I'd love to hear from you. When you walked out, briefly, I was asking about how he walks the tightrope between the work he's doing and the people in his community. And I'm curious with you as well, who is your constituency? Who, your friends and family, how are you able to get your message across to them in a way that may be difficult for them to hear, especially in these times?
After the 7th of October or before? Even, I feel that
now.
the things very different before and after. After it became very difficult everywhere. The people are less hopeless. Both society is moving to the right wing to be more extreme. And this is in Israel or in Palestine. And I think what's happening in the 7th of October is killed the last trust that we have between both sides. It kill it and bury it on the ground, and which means that we have a serious mission now, how to rebuild the trust from nothing, from the minus, from the negative. But in general, I believe that me, Khaled, personally, after more than 22, 23 years dealing with the issues of reconciliation between the two people of us, between our two society, that the majority of both sides, they are good people. They are not bad people. They don't want to fight anyone. They want to live in peace. And we have a minority, extreme minority, that they want to lead us both to fight, to hate. Why? I don't want to go there. We cannot talk about why here. We all know that why, behind why, there's a lot of corruption, there's a lot of bad kavanot, tensions, but I think in Roots we should empower the silent people, the silent majority, in order to raise up their voice and to lead to a kind of change in Israel and in Palestine. The structure of the Palestinian society is also different, also before the 7th of October. Before the 7th of October, Israel had been a democratic state. After, I don't know. I hope that they will continue to keep their democracy. I'm afraid that in the Palestinian side, it's more the structure of the family. Like me as Khaled, when I'm saying I'm Khaled Abu Awwad means 23,000 people with the same name, and they all connected. In our society, your power, your position is based in your history. Like, how can I, Khaled, lead a kind of this initiative between Palestinian and the left side of the right extreme wing in Israel? This is based on the history of my family. We are a family with a strong national identity in our society. Khaled, who's a brother, who is a son of a refugee Palestinian family, who's a brother who lost his first brother, his second brother, his son had been in jail. And all this history gave me legitimacy in my society to take a direction, to say without being without any kind of fear what I believe, what I think, and I'm saying this here. And from here, it can be anywhere in this world. I know that my voice is in the YouTube, in everywhere, in the Facebook, and everywhere, and I'm saying the same things. Yeah, this is.
Thank you for sharing that. And can you say a little bit more also about post-October 7th? I understand that the work that you're doing, first of all, what's been going on even in the last couple of weeks in the West Bank and the tensions rising. And I know that your work has gotten harder and harder, obviously. And how have you shifted the kind of work that you are doing together and separately in your communities, especially in the last few months? Either.
I think that before October 7th, 80% of the work of Roots was people-to-people listening, whether it's photography workshops, whether it's storytelling, playback, learning the other side's language, culture, religion, our summer camps, our high school youth movement. It's all about listening to the other's humanity and identity and expanding your own sense of what's true, expanding your own identity through that people-to-people grassroots work. But since October 7th, there are less and less Israelis and less Palestinians have a crack in their heart that can allow them to let some other color in, other color light in. So for a whole year after October 7th, we didn't do any of that listening work except with the staff and the close activists, group of 24 people. In the past now 4 months, we began again to do this listening work, listening circles they're called, for Palestinians who sign up and for Israelis, together with a translator, a Palestinian facilitator, Israeli facilitator, working together once a week for 6 weeks, and then if they want to continue further. But that's only now 30% of our work. What has taken the place of the other percentages? Humanitarian work. Many in our Palestinian network are without food, without clothing, without money for medicines. So we're simply supporting our network of peacemakers so they'll be there in the future when it's possible to go back and do the full work. So we have, again, a little bit the listening work. Number two, the humanitarian work. Number three, we're doing a lot of work in preventing violence. Or I should say trying, attempting to prevent violence. Some of that is in the Palestinian community, in Palestinian schools, but most of it is on the Israeli side. In our area, at least, in Gush Etzion, south of Bethlehem, and also in the southern Hebron Hills, the vast majority of the violence is coming from the Jewish side, from the hilltop youth, from the chavot, from the farms that are being created in order to drive Palestinians off of their land. We've seen mass burnings. We've, of course, seen attacks with dogs and with stones, sometimes with guns. How do we try to combat that? In our area, number one, by working with rabbis behind the scenes, getting them to speak up, working with parents of some of the kids who are doing this stuff, working with teachers, and also working with the police and the army. Working with the police means encouraging Palestinians to file complaints and going with them to file the complaints and following up the complaints. That work is usually not successful. The police are not the police of both sides. And working with the army, there it's a little more successful. Working with the army means getting them to send soldiers when we hear that violence is brewing or is taking place. And then there's the follow-up when we don't succeed, which is many times. It's going to a burnt-out mosque and offering condolences, chipping in to help buy Qurans which have been destroyed by fire, helping to rebuild the building, and then helping to support the families who have been affected with medical bills, with buying new equipment. And the last place in which we have shifted our work is intra-communal work. Not bring together Israelis and Palestinians, but bring together Israelis separately and Palestinians together to grapple with what this conflict means and how do we go forward. On the Israeli side, it means Torah learning with teachers and rabbis who are not part of roots, but people who have gravitas and respect in the Jewish community, but finding those who have mainstream acceptance and encouraging them to give classes that will, I would say in English, to weave in a little bit of the message of equality and of human dignity.
Thank you. Khaled, can you talk, and I know when I was in the West Bank about a month ago, we talked with Ali and we met with Ali about what life is like right now and how other than sort of the work that you're doing, but you spoke a little about getting medicine and food and helping, but can you explain a little bit about what it's like on the ground to live there and how it's affecting your family and your community?
I've been with Dave today, and he asked me how long it take you to move from your house to the Dignity Center, to the Roots Center. I said before the 7th of October, 10 minutes. After the 7th of October, it took me 1.5 minutes, hours to 2 hours. Like, for example, in the area of Hebron and Bethlehem only, I think we have 228 gates closed, the villages and the cities everywhere. It's not easy. It became worse and worse every day. You cannot move easily. For me to come to the state, my ticket is start on Saturday. I left the country on Wednesday, to be sure that I will be on time and be on my trip to the state.
Explain what the airport is.
Jordan, Alia, the Jordanian airport, because we are not allowed to travel through Ben Gurion as a Palestinian, as a people. The economic situation is very bad. The people now around 2 years, the majority of the Palestinian people didn't work. They have no income. I face a lot of cases, especially at the universities, and you've seen that 2/3 of the students every semester they try to move it, cancel it, because their parents have no money to pay for them, and move it to the other semester. I've seen people 3-4 semester they move it. Some of them they left the university, and for some families, the level of need is going to a level that they cannot pay for the bread for the family. We have cases, and this is part of what we are doing in Roots, and I'm doing with many friends inside the Palestinian society. We try to help as much as we can, but it's not easy. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. For example, the checkpoint that connects between the south and the north of the West Bank, every day they close it twice or 3 times for 2 hours, for 3 hours. Imagine, this checkpoint is the only connection point between east and west of the West Bank, which means 4 million or 5 million people. This is the only road for them to move from side to the other side. Imagine when they close it for 2 or 3 hours, thousands of cars standing there. Catastrophe. You cannot imagine. You cannot imagine. It's very hard. I hope that I think this is not the time to judge anyone. This is not the time to open any kind of competition who's suffering more and who's suffering less. I think this is the time to be together. Anything can connect us together as partner, Palestinian and Israel, in order to take our 2 people out of this unhealthy situation, to try to build a kind of trust, little bit trust, in order to get the fear a little bit down, in order to allow a kind of new beginning after all what's happened, the 7th of October and after the 7th of October. So this is the time to be together more than any time else.
Thank you for that. And we only have a couple minutes left, and I was gonna ask what your hope is. Like, what is your dream of where you can be, and how we can help as a community, IKAR, the IKAR community, but also the Jewish community in general. How can we help move that dream forward? Where can you leave us with some hope about what you're doing, the work you're doing, and how we can support that work, other than financially, which we should do?
You know what? Until now, the way that the people, the Jewish people here, the Jewish community, hear me, listen to me, and act with me, this empathy that I've seen in their eyes and their faces, this brings a lot of hope to me. I came from the Holy Land. I've been very איך אומרים, מיואש, despairing. And the moment that I start here and I talk with the people, because I thought that the people also, the Jewish people here is going to deal like inside the country. But what I've seen here, a lot of humanity, a lot of empathy. I got from everyone and one of you a lot of courage and energy, positive energy, that I think this will go back with me and will do a lot I am not a simple person. When I've seen this gave me a lot of energy, and I can do a lot with this energy, inshallah.
Inshallah, we'll take that energy. Rabbi Schlesinger, where do you get hope? Where do you see hope here?
Hope, of course, is composed of two elements. One, the desire to see a certain vision or goal reached. And number two, the belief that it's possible to reach that goal or that vision. So obviously I want reconciliation, but do I believe that it's possible? It doesn't seem to be rationally probable at this point. Not in my lifetime, perhaps not in the lifetime of my children. There doesn't seem to be a great possibility of reconciliation, but there's a little possibility, right? There is a possibility. How do I know? I know because sometimes things change overnight in ways that are unforeseeable. But I also know that it's possible because it's not a divine decree that Jews and Palestinians hate each other. It doesn't have to be like that. It could be different, and I know it could be different because I see what happened to me 11 years ago. I see what happened to hundreds of other Israelis and Palestinians who through our organization and through other organizations have been transformed, have been changed, have been liberated. It's liberating to get over your fears and your mistrust and your dehumanization of the other. I've had so many Israelis and Palestinians go through existential crises and then come out of it at the other side of the tunnel with that sense of freedom. I now see a different reality. I'm talking in my name and in the name of hundreds of Roots activists on both sides. I see and I experience a different reality when we get together, Israelis and Palestinians and Roots. You see, we don't kill each other. We listen to each other. We accept each other. We support each other. So it's possible we see a living example in our organization and many, many other organizations. So it's certainly possible. And if it's possible, not very likely, but if it's possible, then that brings me and many others to take responsibility. And when you take responsibility, you feel empowered. And you see the change happening, not on the macro level, but on the micro level. You see one and another Israeli and Palestinian being liberated from their fears. You see that transformation. And then more people take responsibility. Responsibility, I think, taking responsibility creates hope. And hope creates more responsibility. So I see this cycle, again, only in miniature, so I know that it's possible. And I'll also add that being in the U.S. and being here, that people actually listen to us much more than they do over there. That does give us hope.
Well, I'm going to go with the hope and the probable. Rabbi Brous and I were in a conversation a couple months ago with Van Jones, and he was talking about the civil rights movement, and he was talking about, the Jews spent a lot of time talking about Abraham Joshua Heschel and how he was so deeply involved in the civil rights movement and hold this up as this paragon of what Jews were doing, and really not many Jews were on his side at the moment. And Van Jones made the point, well, you know what? The truth is there weren't that many black people involved in the civil rights movement either. And his point is that it takes a small group of committed people to make change. And you too are the embodiment of that work. And we're so grateful for the work that you're doing. And it's really an honor to hear from you, to hear about your work, and to be able to platform the work you're doing. And we wish you continued strength and health as you go through this work, and know that you have a big community of people here cheering you on, and really wanting to see your vision of reality succeed. And I know that you two were willing to stay and answer some more questions after people go. But did you want to end with something? No. Oh, okay. Yes, Hanan?
I wanted just to say that we have brochures that you can take. They're right up here. And also, I want everyone to know about our website, friendsofroots.net. Friendsofroots.net. Everyone together, please. Friendsofroots.net.
Not .com,
And you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. You can find us, Friends of Roots. those people who want to hear more, Rabbi Brous mentioned that we have a meeting tonight at the House of Chef, is over there at 7 o'clock.
1068 Point View Street.
And if you can't make it tonight,
7:30.
7:30.
7:30.
And tomorrow night at 7 o'clock is at the house of Avi.
Avi Habibi. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you so much. Thank you.